and welcome back to my channel. So I'm Steph and I'm going to be continuing on showing you a few things that I've learnt to make with my Cricut machine. So this week my friend has kindly asked me if I would make her a cake topper. Her little girl is turning 7 and yes, so she asked me if I'd make her one. I haven't really had much experience making cake toppers, but I thought I would challenge myself and try a 3D one. I've watched a lot of other YouTube videos, so I thought I would just share what I've learned. I'm going to be making this 3D cake topper. It's a mermaid theme cake topper. She really loves mermaids and she told me that the theme of her party colours would be this like aquamarine colour and a nice pink, and then I just added some gold vinyl on the front. So yeah, I thought I would just share what I've learned and how I made this cake topper. Okay, so let's get on into the video. Okay, so heading into Cricut Design Space and clicking onto a new project. Here we go. On the left hand side you can see the images toggle. I'm just going to click on here where I can start to create my cake topper. The first thing I'm going to search up is a clamshell. That's going to be the base of my cake topper, and I've bookmarked a lot of images. I'm part of the Cricut Design Space subscription, so these images were free for me. If not, you will have to pay for them. This is just a subscription service every month. I think it's around about $12, but I did just pay a yearly amount, and it's so handy that you can just get all these images and then just click them onto your canvas. Okay, so I've got the clamshell there. I did just size it down a tiny bit, but you can change the size when we've finished the whole project. Here I'm just adding an offset to the clamshell. This is going to give me an extra layer that I can change the colour of and give that 3D effect to the cake topper. Now what we will need to do to that extra layer that I've just added is make sure that there's no holes in that layer, otherwise the Cricut will try to cut it out. So if you just click on that image, click onto contour, and then contour all images, all areas, and then all the areas will go, and then you can pop those back on top. Making sure they're all aligned, you can then go through and just change the colours of each separate layer. All your layers are in the sidebar, so you can just click onto each one, changing the colour. And it doesn't have to be the exact colour that you want to use, just so you know that which card is going to be for which layer. So then I just clicked on the very back layer, that offset that I made, and made a duplicate. So again, it could be another layer that I can add to the clamshell. So when I'm happy with everything that's all layered together, I'm going to click on the whole of the layers and group them together. That will give me one image that I can just move around. So I then just messed around with the colours a little bit more there. So when I'm happy with all the colours, I can start to add in all the other images that are going to go onto the cake topper. So again, just clicking on images. I did just bookmark a few little images that I liked. I liked this fishtail and this banner, and I'm just going to add them all to the canvas. This starfish and this seahorse. All the images always come through really big, so you just need to size them down and move them to the side. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to look at is this fishtail. It's not a fishtail actually, it's a mermaid tail. And I'm just going to change the colours so that they match the layers of the clamshell, and that way they will cut out on the same sheet of card. So clicking up in the colours icon, I'm going to colour select to make sure that these colours match. There we go. This is going to take a lot of tweaking and a lot of moving around. I made a lot of mistakes with placing these items. I just kept going back in and moving them around. So here I am putting the banner on. Again, I don't like the colour of this one, and I'm just sizing it down, putting it in place. And then I'm going to create an offset onto this banner. This is going to give the image more dimension and enable you to have that extra layer for your cake topper. So there we have a nice little offset around that banner, and then group them together so you can move it around from as one image. And then I'm just going to go through and place this little seahorse. What I did there, and then the starfish. I did actually make 2 of these starfish, but in the end I only ended up using 1. So you can make these images as big or as little as you like. Just place them where you'd like them. And then you can go through after and change the colours and see if it matches up with how you would like it to look. Okay, so here I'm going to add in the last image, which is the number 7. And I liked this pink one here. So just adding it to the canvas. And once I'm happy with the placement on the cake topper, I'm going to create another offset around this number 7. It just gives it a nice border and enables you to use some foam tape, and then you can create a 3D effect. So just clicking on the 7 and the offset toggle, click apply. You can make it as big or as little as you like. I did actually put this number 7 as yellow, a yellow piece of card, and when it cut out I didn't like it, so in the end I did change it to gold vinyl along with the name, and it just looked so much better. Okay, so when I'm happy with the 7, I'm placing the name on here, Evie, and I used this Cricut Design font Latia. It's a nice script font. Just again, sizing it down, popping it in place, changing the colour. I made it yellow so it would cut out with the number 7 and the starfish, but as I said before, I did change this to gold vinyl. When you're happy with everything, you can highlight over everything and group it all together. So just right click and group. And then you can go ahead and make it. Okay, so now it's going to ask you for your matte preference, and it's going to go through and separate all the different layers of cards onto their own matte. I just used medium cardstock as like a default setting, and I had no trouble with it. So here I am with the first piece of card using this white. I used a light grip matte and just made sure to really press that card down onto the mat. You can use a brayer tool. You really want it to stick down firm because it can get caught in. Okay, so one thing that I forgot to do on the original plan was to add a backing to this cake topper. I did duplicate this back layer just to make it a bit more sturdy, but I actually wanted an offset that would show all around the edge. So here I just have the image where I've duplicated it, clicked on the duplicate image and added another offset all around it. So there you go, click on offset, pick the size that you'd like, and click apply. There's the offset layer, so I can just get rid of the two now. And I'm just going to contour those little areas. So hide all contours. And then I just changed it to this nice grey colour. I'm actually going to make it on some nice silver shiny card. I just felt that the cake topper needed that little extra touch. So you can pop your image back to the front, make sure it's all aligned and you're happy with the offset. And then you can just cut out that layer. So if you just move the top image off, click on the new offset. I'll do that in a second. Here we go. And click make it. And then that will cut out on the shiny piece of card. Okay, so here I have my new offset cut out and I have all my layers cut out. So we're going to do some weeding. Now, I'm just using pretty cheap card just from a dollar store. That's one thing that I will change next time I do a cake topper, is use maybe a little bit more stronger card, at least for at least one of the layers. To give it some depth, I'm using some 3D foam tape and just some clear drying craft glue. And then I've got my basic utensils, the Cricut ones, and some lollipop sticks to stick on the back layer. I also have these little packs of jewels that I thought would look really nice as decoration. So now I'm just going to go ahead and weed everything and then start placing my layers where I would like them. So when you're weeding, sometimes it's easier to keep it on the mat. I always turn my mat over and pull the mat away from the card. That way it will stop it from curling. And here is the piece of vinyl that I said that I cut out instead of the yellow card as well. I just felt like it added a little extra touch to the cake topper. So here it was definitely easier to weed, leaving the mermaid tail stuck to the mat. It had lots of little intricate parts to weed out. So just take your time, use your weeding tool and just pick them all out. Okay, so now we've weeded out our mermaid tail, we're going to do the gold vinyl. I've just got the number 7, the name, and those 2 starfish. And there we go. I'm just going to cut them up so they're a little bit easy to deal with. Just make them nice and individual. Here is the name Evie, and I'm just looking at the banner that I have it to place it on, and I didn't think about the colour match there. I've got gold vinyl with silver cardstock. It just doesn't look right. So I did actually go back in and make an offset around Evie's name in some pink card, which we'll see in the later clips. Now I'm just going ahead and placing the backings on these little pieces. So I'm going to start with the mermaid tail. Just nice little small drops of the glue. This was really good glue, and again, this was just from a dollar store. using the little tweezers to place it down on the backing. And I'm just leaving it there for a while so it can just have time to dry and make it nice and sturdy. And now I'm going to place the banner pieces all together. So I've got the backing of the banner, which was that white offset that I made, and then just placing on some more glue onto the silver cardstock and placing it down where it should sit on the banner. So when you need to add the vinyl, I'm just going to use some of the Cricut's transfer tape and just apply the vinyl to the card really gently, making sure not to press too hard because I don't want that transfer tape to stick to the cardboard. Here is the little pink offset that I cut out for Evie's name, just to make it stand out a little bit more on that banner. I just did that by creating an offset around her name in Cricut Design Space and then printing out that offset. Sorry, cutting out that offset. And you'll see that it just looks so much better sitting on that silver banner on the paper, and it just stands out a lot more. So it's all about trial and error. And I'm just using the foam tape to create a 3D look with Evie's name and then placing it down on the banner. To stick the lollipop sticks onto the backing, I'm just going to use this hot glue gun, and the easiest way that I've found to do this is just put your lollipop sticks in place using a light grip mat and place them onto the bottom layer, and then just put a line of the hot glue to one side and then roll the stick back onto it. Hot glue dries so fast, so it's nice to just leave it on the mat and then you can kind of control where the glue goes. Just making sure to clean up any glue that might spill. So I'm now finished with that bottom layer, and the lollipop sticks are glued on there pretty tightly, so I'm just going to make sure I leave those there to dry. And now it's time to add my other layers. Now what I did do was, in the original plan I printed out 2 layers the same size, and I just didn't think how that would look, and so I'm not going to use them apart from one where I can just poke it a little bit higher to give a little bit of depth. And I'm going to use this as my first layer. So the silver and the pink card I just glued together, and then now that whole layer I'm going to use the 3D tape and place this down on the backing layer. So with the 3D tape, because of the lollipop sticks, there was quite a gap in between, so I did 2 layers of this 3D tape. And then I placed the layer down, making sure it was in the right place. It's really sticky, this tape, so you need to be careful where you place it. And then I was able to secure the sides down. Okay, so now I'm happy that those layers are firmly pressed down. I'm going to add the pink layer. And this I am going to put all the 3D foam on it again. Just making sure to put a little bit of foam on each of those little prongs, as you don't want them to bend forward. So I just added the 3D tape to that. And now I'm just doing the same for the mermaid tail. It's actually really handy having that backing offset because I can line everything up to match. Next thing, I did the 3D tape on the number 7. And it looks so much better with the vinyl on the front rather than the yellow card. And then lastly, I'm just putting this banner in place. Just making sure that everything lines up. After looking at this when it was finished, I realised that I should have moved the banner slightly to the left of the 7. It just wasn't quite central, but I can do that next time. And then I just went through and I did those little finishing touches, the seahorse, and I did have 2 stars, but I ended up just using one of the stars, and I just glued those onto the edge. With the glue, you just want to make sure that there's nothing dripping out. That could be the worst thing, having glue dripping from a cake topper. And here is the finished cake topper. I added a few jewels just around the edge, not too many because it was already quite sparkly. And yeah, I'm so happy with how it turned out. Okay, so that is going to go ahead and conclude this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that it was filmed okay. As I said before, I'm not entirely 100% happy with this cake topper, but it has turned out better than I expected, and practice makes perfect, so I'm definitely going to try making lots more cake toppers, and I might even try one of those shaker cake toppers next because I've seen a lot of videos of those online. So I'll see you again for another video. Bye.